Okay, so now we're going to take a quick look at the conditional operator. So Java has one ternary operator. So this is referring to an operator with three operands. So a little bit different from our unary and binary operators. And that's going to be this conditional operator. So this operator is used to determine which of two values we want to use based on some condition. So the general syntax for it is going to be that we have a Boolean expression. So this is the condition that we're checking. We then have a question mark character that comes after that expression. And then we have our two values. So we've got a value 1. We're going to choose that value if our Boolean expression evaluates to true. And then we have a colon, and then value 2, we'll choose that one if our Boolean expression evaluates to false. So the code that we have right here, this general syntax for it, this is going to be equivalent to if our Boolean expression, take value 1, else take value 2. So the conditional operator is pretty useful for tasks such as deciding what value we should assign to a variable or what output to include in a print statement. So in this case, we've got a couple of examples here. For this first one, we're saying that we want to check to see if we should assign either 10 or 20 to the variable y based on this condition if x is less than 0. So we see y equals x less than 0. That's the Boolean expression in our ternary operator. We then have that question mark character, and then we have our 10, so that's the value we'll choose if our expression evaluates to true. We then have our colon, and then the value 20, we're going to choose that if our expression evaluates to false. For the second one, choosing what we want to print out, we've got our system.out.println, and then we have the string literal, your final grade is, and then string concatenation, we're using that plus sign, and then the rest, so what we're going to concatenate to it is either going to be fail or pass, and the condition we're checking here is if this score variable is less than 60. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let's focus primarily on the second one. We'll go ahead and use that as our example to demonstrate the behavior of this conditional operator. So we'll come over here. We'll go ahead and create a new Java project. So we'll go ahead and make a Java application. Click Next. So for this one, we're going to be demonstrating the conditional operator. So we'll go ahead and make the name of the project Conditional Operator. Click Finish. Right here, we'll go ahead and remove the extra comments that we're not going to need. And then right here, we'll go ahead and start putting together some of the code for this. So we saw in that second example, we were using this variable score in order to check some condition to determine whether we were going to include pass or fail as part of our print statement. So let's go ahead and make that variable. So we're going to go ahead and declare a variable called score. Since this is probably referring to some kind of final grade in a course, ideally we would go ahead and set this as an int. Assume that this is after doing all the rounding. So we'll go ahead and say that this is equal to, let's start off by saying that this is equal to something like 70. We'll then go ahead and put together that print statement. So we're going to say system.out.println. We're going to say your final grade is, we have a colon and a space, and then from here we're going to do string concatenation. So we're going to use the plus sign. We'll then have a pair of parentheses to indicate that what we have coming after that is by itself, not necessarily a string literal. Eventually we're going to get one from it though. So this is where we're going to put in our ternary operator. First we have our condition, so we're saying score less than 60. So we have our question mark, and then after this we're going to put in the first of the two values that we're going to consider. So we're going to put this as a string, and we're going to say, in this case we're checking score less than 60. If that's true, then we want to go ahead and select fail for this. Then I have our colon. And then if the opposite is the case, so if this is not true, that means that our score is greater than 60, so we're going to put pass. We'll go ahead and save that. And so if we go ahead and run this, right now we have 70 for score. So we're going to use that right here, say 70 less than 60. That's not true, so it gives us the false value. So we come over here and select pass. So we'll run that. We'll see your final grade is pass. And then if we go ahead and change this to something like, say, 50, go ahead and save that and run this. In this case, we're going to do 50 less than 60 right here. So now we're going to get the true case, which is going to be fail. So you see that right here. So this is going to cover the little bit that I wanted to address about the conditional operator. In the next video, we're going to start getting into the switch statement. So we're going to be taking a look at a totally different structure that we're going to be able to use that is very useful in capturing the same sort of behavior as our if, else statements. But ideally, as we start to add more and more conditions, you will typically find this particular approach to be a bit more scalable. So we'll take a look at that switch statement in the next video.